The world is unmade. It does not happen slowly. It happens in the space of a single, terrifying heartbeat. The ground, the only certainty in the lives of these 12 Australopithecus, shudders, then groans, a deep, grinding sound that comes from the planet's very bones. This is the raw power of tectonics, a force for which their minds have no name. Only a profound, instinctual terror. They cling to the shaking earth, to each other, knuckles white, their low slung faces a mask of confusion. The trees whip back and forth, and the great, placid paleo lake that has defined their entire existence, their larger in their map, begins to boil. A whirlpool, vast and impossible, forms in its center. The sound is of the world's blood being poured, a gurgling roar that drowns out their own panicked cries. The water, their water, is not receding, it is vanishing. In less than a day, it is over. The shaking stops. The roaring silence that follows is more terrifying than the noise, where a vast, life-giving body of water once stretched to the horizon. There is now a glistening black wound in the earth. The bones of their world are laid bare. It is a landscape from a nightmare. A wet desert of mud and slime littered with the flapping, suffocating bodies of a million fish. The air is thick with the stench of death and deep earth minerals. This is prehistoric life in its most brutal form, not a struggle against a predator, but a sudden, absolute erasure of the known world. For a time, the clan is paralyzed. Their knowledge, the map of their lives, is obsolete. The reeds where they hid from lions, gone. The shoreline where they gathered turtles' eggs, gone. Their very identity is tied to a world that no longer exists. An old male, his muzzle grayed with age, is the first to possess the new reality. He watches not the dying fish, a temporary, deceptive bounty, but the herds of three-toed horses and small, stocky rhinos. They are nervous, confused, but their instincts are pulling them in one direction, away. They are following the ghost of the water, moving toward a horizon that is no longer a shoreline. He understands. The fish will rot, the mud will bake, and this new desert will offer nothing but death. This is a critical moment of foresight, a flicker of the analytical intelligence that will define the future of the hominid history. The choice is simple and terrible. To stay is to starve in a land of plenty. To leave is to walk into the impossible, into a world that was never meant to feel the sun. He makes a low, guttural sound, a call that is not a command but a statement of intent. He turns his back on the only home their human ancestors have ever known and begins the clumsy, shuffling walk of his kind toward the center of the dead lake. A female scoops up a frightened juvenile. Another picks up a heavy, unworked stone, a familiar weight in a world made strange. One by one, they follow him, their wide, splayed feet sinking into the soft, alien mud. They are walking off the edge of their map. A tiny, desperate expedition into the heart of a new, drowned world. The sun has baked the mud into a cracked, white plate that stretches to the horizon in every direction. The air, stripped of moisture, shimmers with a heat that distorts the world, making the bones of the dead sea dogs, and the bones are everywhere. This is a landscape built from death. The clan of early humans walks through the ribcage of a colossal whale, its vertebrae the size of boulders, its curved ribs forming a bleached, skeletal cathedral that offers a mocking, useless shade. The ground is a museum of annihilation, a lesson in the slow art of toughening. The delicate, fan-like skeletons of ancient rays are perfectly preserved in the salt-crusted mud, alongside the coiled shells of ammonites as wide as a hominid is tall. This journey across the floor of a vanished sea is a landmark event in prehistory, a brutal test of adaptation. Their physical prowess, the strength that defined their lives a million years ago, is meaningless here. Their enemy is the landscape itself. The cracked surface is a trap, often hiding pockets of deep, wet mud beneath a thin, brittle crust. A young male misjudges a step and plunges to his waist in the foul-smelling ooze. His panicked cries show up in the immense silence. It takes the combined effort of two others to haul him out, leaving him shivering with shock. His skin coated in a black, clinging slime, but a worse rap awaits. Here and there, the surface is broken by pools of water, crystal clear and impossibly inviting. The sight of it almost breaks their discipline. A juvenile, maddened by thirst, breaks from its mother and scrambles toward the nearest pool. But the old maid is faster. He intercepts the child, holding it back as it struggles and cries. He points a long, bony finger at the pool's edge. There are no tracks, no dead insects. The salt has formed a thick, white crust around the perimeter, a sterile border that life is not dared to cross. The water is hypersaline, a chemical solution more poison than liquid. It is a profound test of their intelligence to understand that the very thing they need most can also be a fatal law. Their own water, carried in a scavenged turtle shell, is almost gone. The old male rations it with a terrible fairness. A few precious licks for each of them, as they huddle in the shadow of a leviathan-esque jawbone. A mother, seeing her child's listless eyes and dry, cracked lips, secretly gives her own share away. A silent act of altruism that carves new lines of agony on her own face. They are a tiny island of community in a vast ocean of desolation. Their shared grunts and gestures are the only bulwark against the psychological pressure of this alien world. The sheer scale of it, the disorienting lack of landmarks, threatens to erode their sanity. To witness these moments, to see the interplay of intelligence and care in the face of such overwhelming despair, is to understand the bedrock of our own. That is the chronicle we are charged to keep. If you feel the pull of this shared memory, then join us. Place your hand beside theirs and leave your own mark on the story of our human ancestors. As they stand to resume their march, the last of the water is gone. Now, they are walking on borrowed time. The world has dissolved into a featureless white glare. The boneyard is behind them, replaced by a vast, shimmering salt flat that offers no shade. No landmarks, nothing but the sun's relentless hammer. This is the final stage of their journey. A crucible that will determine if their small flicker of existence makes it into the fossil record as survivors, or simply as another layer of bole in this desolate landscape. Thirst is no longer a sensation. It is their entire reality. Their tongues are swollen. Their thoughts are a thick, tenacious soup. The community, once their greatest strength, is beginning to fracture under the strain. A young female wanders away from the group, following a phantom herd of antelope that dances in the heat haze. The old male, his own body screaming for rest, has to chase her down and physically drag her back to the huddle. His guttural barks a raw sound of desperation. They are dying. An old female, her steps growing slower and more unsteady, finally stumbles and falls. She makes no effort to rise. She simply curls into a ball on the hot salt. A quiet, final surrender. The clan stops. A ragged line of exhaustion. They look at her, then at the old male. There is no hard choice to be made. The choice has already been made by their depleted bodies. They cannot carry her. They cannot give her water they do not have. In a gesture of profound, heartbreaking finality, the old male gently touches her shoulder, then turns and shuffles on. They leave her to the silence and the sun, a future subject for the cold, precise study of anthropology. They are now just 7, a testament to the brutal mathematics of survival. Hope is a useless concept. There is only the next step. It is the youngest member, the juvenile, who saves them, not through strength and knowledge, but through observation, while the adults stare at the ground, at their own aching feet. The child looks up. Its world has always been a forest of legs. Looking up is its natural state, and in the vast, empty dome of the sky, it sees a pattern, a thin, dark line of birds, flying with a steady, unwavering purpose from horizon to horizon. They are not circling like vultures. They are commuting. The child makes a sound, a high-pitched, excited squeak, and points a small, grimy cinder. The old male, his mind a fog of pain, follows the gesture. He watches the birds. His own paleontology at the present moment unfolding. Birds mean insects. Insects mean plants. Plants mean water. The flight path is a map, an arrow drawn across the sky by a force older than thirst. He changes their direction. A slight, almost imperceptible shift to align with the bird's journey. It is a decision made with the last dregs of his intelligence. A final, desperate bet. The new foraging range is not a place they can see, but one they must believe in. For hours, they follow the invisible line, the final, agonizing march that pushes them beyond the limits of endurance. Then, they smell it. Not water, dust, the smell of dry land, of life. The flat, white hull gives way to scrubby, brown earth, i.e. dead tree. And then, a small, muddy puddle, buzzing with flies. It is the most beautiful thing they have ever seen. They do not drink. They collapse into the mud, absorbing life through their skin, their bodies too desiccated for the shock of swallowing. They have crossed the drowned world's bones and have been reborn on a new shore. This was not a migration. It was a filter, an event of such extremity that it selected not for the strongest, but for the most cohesive, for the ones whose social bonds were strong enough to withstand the unraveling of their entire world. The intelligence that read the flight of birds, the altruism that shared the last drops of water, stubborn will to pull another to their feet. These are the traits that survived the crossing. This is the story buried in the deep stratigraphy of human evolution. A story not of conquest, but of endurance. Our species' incredible journey across the face of this planet was not a single, grand exodus, but a million small, desperate journeys just like this one. Each one was a roll of the dice, a gamble against extinction, where the stakes were the future of our entire lineage. To remember their struggle is to recognize the surreal, treacherous landscapes we must all cross in our own lives, and to honor the community that helps us find the far shore. That is the chronicle we are charged to keep. If you feel the echo of their footsteps on the salt, then join us. Place your hand beside theirs and leave your own mark on the story. Their journey is over, but the maps are always being redrawn. Our greatest monuments are not built of stone, but are the invisible bonds forged in the fires of impossible journeys. But new worlds are born from the death of old ones.